as the days go on forever. There's no place for time when you're young. Can't find the words, but we know how we feel. Could we stay longer here in the summer? In the summer.
a true bomb, flying high over the heads of a rude mob, staying by the revolution of the whole clock, kill 'em all with love. I don't care if they're talking about us. No, I don't care if they put us down. No, I don't care if the sky falls around us. We're riding on a pink cloud. Oh, oh. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. I don't care. We're riding on a pink cloud. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. Our mother is the boom in the baseline. Our father is the backbeat halftime. They say we were born under a bad sign. We say yes, so what? We're the ones who create our own world. Friendly assassins known as pegboard. All glory and praise to the bad Lord. Kill 'em all with love. I don't care if they're talking about us. No, I don't care if they put us down. No, I don't care if the sky falls around us. We're riding on a pink cloud. Oh, oh. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. I don't care. We're riding on a pink cloud. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. We're riding on a pink cloud. I don't care if they're talking about us. No, I don't care if they put us down. No, I don't care if the sky falls around us. We're riding on a pink cloud. Oh, oh. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. I don't care. We're riding on a pink cloud. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. No, I don't care if the sky falls around us. We're riding on a pink cloud. Oh, oh.
Moving like a soldier. Moving like a soldier. Moving like a soldier.
Testing, testing, testing. All right, it's Mark, and it's time to start our live show. So tonight, I want to start the show off by talking about the monthly challenges, the 5-week challenges. It seems that last week we chose a winner during our live show, which was Hunkbug, and so anyway, I messaged him on animateclay.com, and let me take this welcome screen off first. There we go. And he hasn't replied, and usually this is the first person that hasn't actually replied, and I don't know if maybe something happened to Hunkbug, or maybe his email is thinking that when I sent him a message that there's spam involved or something. I'm not really sure, because of course there's a lot of spam out there, so when you say the word like win, people think, oh, I've won $1 million. So, things like Google and Yahoo Mail, and I'll probably put it in a spam filter. I'm not really sure, but that's my guess. So Hunkbug has not returned to the forums, and that I know of. I'm gonna recheck here. And so without him giving a topic to choose from, let's see, I still have the tally results from the live show last week. And Hunkbug came in first, and Gabriel came in second with 3 votes. So I'm not really sure if I should have Gabriel pick the challenge or because that will take time, and I don't know how long it will take for Gabriel to reply. So I'm thinking we should probably come up with some sort of a topic tonight that we could, have fun with. And let's see here. So I don't know. What would you guys like to do for our next 5-week challenge? Is anybody planning to enter, or anybody really excited about it and maybe have an idea? I think we should probably talk about that, and maybe what we can do is we can probably do something like, well, how many people? We got 8 people here tonight watching so far. So why don't we come up with some ideas, and maybe I'll come up with an idea, and then you guys can come up with one. All right. So Ashley Henry is saying, how about Pokemon? That might be a good topic, actually, considering what's going on right now. Pokemon. So I don't know, Pokemon, maybe Ghostbusters. There's a lot of controversy over the Ghostbusters movie. It's like people either love it or hate it, which I don't really understand why. I haven't seen it, but I'm not sure if it's really a good film or a bad film, but let's see. So Henry's talking about getting a Wanhao i3 duplicator 3D printer, and so we've been kind of discussing that also before the show. And they also call it a monoprice select if you get it in Walmart. They're pretty good printers. I really like mine, and supposedly the updated one I think probably has some issues fixed on that as well. So I think Henry's gonna like that. So let's see. So yeah, Beard Botnik is saying that even the prices, are dropping on 3D printers really fast, which is nice. All right, so Janet says fairy tales. And Matt is saying, what is a Pokemon? I never heard of it, actually. But fairy tales, Pokemon, anybody else want to, maybe give any ideas about what you think would be fun? So I'm thinking Ghostbusters, is kind of like I don't know if that's really, maybe the controversy kind of takes the fun out of it, though. A live chat all about 3D printing. Well, yeah, we've talked about 3D printing a lot, but you'd have to go back a few months. Like I think when I got my printer, that was around November, December of last year, and I talked about it a lot on my live shows. 3D printing is really an awesome technology for stop motion animators. I mean, you can do a lot of things with it. And I mean, we could talk about that tonight too. I mean, we still have almost an hour to kill, and that's a fun topic. I can talk about 3D printing all day. Secret Life of Pets. Secret. And Ghostbusters. Alright, so we only got 9 people, so I guess we could vote just really quickly, and we'll just choose one of those as the topic and kind of get things moving, because it's already been a week. I've waited a week for a reply, and I still haven't had one. So I don't know. If I wish Hunkbug could have at least answered, and I even sent him links to his the option of downloading a tutorial video as a prize, and still no reply. So you saw Ghostbusters, Janet. What did you think of it? Was it okay? Was it an okay kind of film, or? And Matt says, I'm keen to hear about eyes for stop motion. Yeah. I mean, there's not really a lot involved in the eyes, but, I mean, we can make it involved if we want to. There's a lot of complicated ways of making eyeballs. All right, so anyway, let's see. So who wants to vote for Pokemon? Let's just take a quick vote. Let's narrow it down to let's just say fairy tales and Pokemon. So Janet and Henry chose those, and we'll just keep it simple. So what do you guys think? Fairy tales or Pokemon? I think I'll vote for Pokemon. Only because it's kind of like everybody's talking about it lately, and so anybody else, Pokemon or fairy tales? If you want to vote, that will be our topic for the next 5 weeks for our challenge. And so of course the rules will be the same. Now, of course, if the next winner doesn't choose a topic, which is very, very rare, we can do this again. But just in for saving time purposes. So Matt says fairy tales. All right. So one for Pokemon, one for fairy tales. Oops. Yeah, I'm curious to know what Janet thinks about Ghostbusters. There's so many mixed reviews. It's like there's people that think it's great. Some people don't like it. And it's really political because it's all women instead of all men. So it's like this big debate. Ooh, why is Hollywood making this film? It's all women. Where are the guys? It's crazy. So Janet says good for kids, like Scooby-Doo and amazing sound effects of ghosts. That's cool. So the sound effects are good. Yeah. That's a really important part of filmmaking is the sound. All right, so anybody else want to vote? So we have, for the next 5 week challenge, fairy tales or Pokemon. So anybody else? We got 10 people tonight so far. 2 people voted. Me and anybody else? All right. Well, if nobody else votes, I think we'll go with Pokemon. What do you guys think? Because I know people want to hear about making eyeballs, and that is our topic for tonight. So, and Harry says, I rarely think movies are bad. I usually enjoy most films, while people are ranting in the background. But then again, I'm not really a movie person. Yeah, I kind of fall in that category too. But usually when I go to see the movies, I enjoy them. So Henry says Pokemon. Okay. Yeah, I think Pokemon's a good one. Especially since that was your, wasn't that your idea, Henry? Yeah, okay. But it's a good idea. Okay, so that's settled. All right, now for the fun stuff. Let me see here. My client keeps messaging me. I need to talk to him later. Now, some big news. Of course, we've talked about this, I guess, 2 weeks ago. On August 5th on Netflix is going to be a stop motion CGI feature. And if you're friends with Anthony Scott on Facebook, you'll notice that he's been posting some photos of himself. Here he is with Mark Osborne, and this is called I think a magic suitcase. Yeah, magic suitcase, and you can see some of the puppets that were in the film. So there's like a fox that looks like it's kind of like a rag doll, and that's, I guess, like, I'm not really sure if that's a different sort of, why it's a different style than the fox, in the film, which is more kind of stylized to be like an illustration. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you guys have seen photos of it, That's one of the coolest characters that you'll probably see. And here is the little prince on this planet. And Anthony also posted some videos as well, but I don't want to talk too much about or show too much of this because he might be coming on next week. So that would be on, I believe, the 10th. Yep, Wednesday's the 10th. So I'm going to ask Anthony if he wants to come on, and we'll discuss all this stuff and talk. He might talk about the process and how the puppets are made. How it worked out that Netflix was the one to appropriate the film. So anyway, it's pretty exciting. So on the 5th on Netflix. So I think that's only like if you're in the U.S. And Canada, maybe Netflix. So yeah, pretty awesome that they've actually picked it up. And from what I understand, Netflix believes that this might be a film worthy of an Oscar. So I'm really excited about it. I hope you guys are as well. And okay, so what else? Now I guess I could briefly mention that on our site there's been a lot of people posting some really cool stuff as well. This is TIFF, T-I-F-F, is the pair of people that are making some interesting looking stop motion characters here that are coming out of what looks like pumpkins or gourds or something. And there's not much of a description. As well as Jim, who had posted some new pictures here. Just wanted to show this because it seems really intricate the way that he set up his camera to be moved around with this rig, which I believe we might have shown this in the past, but I don't think it was set up with this set with this dog here. And it says animal shelter reception here, and so I don't know if I can expand that any bigger, but and here's a dog that's also outside. And this is a really cool trick because what he did is he printed out a giant looks like a live action background as well behind this little puppy dog. And also he's got some sort of fake turf or grass here. So a really, it looks like a really cool project and very professional looking so far. All right. Of course, there's some more pictures and there's videos as well. So Isam posted some eggs with blue cheese and hot sauce, which is actually a really good animation, and the quality and the lighting is also very good, as well as the editing. Isam made mention to me that he's a professional editor, which helps sort of give him that polished look to some of his stop motion projects. So you guys might want to check that out. Okay. So eyeballs, that's the topic. Yeah, and Matt is saying maybe next time we can do eyeballs, or not eyeballs, fairy tales as our topic for next week's, or next week. My brain is just not working tonight for the next 5-week challenge. So hopefully maybe Janet will join, because Janet hasn't joined into any of the challenges, right, Janet? I don't think. That would be kind of cool if she did. Now, let's see here. Here we go. Is this it? Is this working? Yes, it is. Okay. So I'm going to try and move stuff around here so I can read what you guys are saying as well as post what I'm doing. Where are we here? Okay, so eyeballs. So have you guys ever made your own eyeballs before for stop motion puppets? So I'm going to explain a little bit about what the idea is behind making eyeballs for stop motion puppets. And first, let me see here. It's so hard to move all these things around and know what I'm doing, because I can't see on both screens. Let's see here. All right. So I'm going to minimize this. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that eyeballs are really important for stop motion puppets. I mean, you guys probably know that already. If ever you've watched any behind the scenes anything in stop motion, especially Wallace and Gromit, if you guys noticed that Nick Park came up, I guess, with the design for Gromit, which is the dog. Maybe I can bring that up. Let me do that real quick. Excuse me. Okay. And move this back over here. Okay, there we go. So you'll hear Nick Park always talk about, and other animators who have animated Gromit the dog, that the dog doesn't have any mouth, right? So there's no mouth. There is some body movement. You can see there's some gesturing here where Gromit is cross-armed. Here he's giving a thumbs up. This one here, you can see like maybe his shoulders are a little bit up. This one here, he looks a little bit more confident. This one, he's very tired. So you can see that there's just an eyebrow up here, and eyelids. And this animator also sculpted in some little lines in the corner of his eyes to make his eyes look like they're kind of squinting, right? So if you could zoom in, and I guess I could, to just the eyeballs, like this, you can kind of get an idea of what is going on in his mind. And so Randy's saying he has used white marbles for eyeballs, and he just sticks the pupil on there with some wax, a bit of wax. That's a pretty smart way to do it. White marbles. But just this kind of illustrates the point that I want to make, and that's that you can make a character look as though they're thinking, and also you can give them expression and emotion through their eyes. So whenever you're watching a film, if you look at the lower part of his face, you couldn't tell how he's feeling or what he's thinking here, right? Because he's got just a nose and the bottom of a mouth. And this here kind of resembles just a sketch that Nick Park had done to illustrate the dog. But, he didn't add like a little dot here or a smile or teeth or anything that you'd associate with the dog, right? Like especially, a canine, you've got like giant fangs and all of that. So there's none of that. So it's a serious limitation for an animator to figure out how to give this dog expression. And so they do that through body gestures, and they call that pantomime, as well as through using their eyes and kind of either mad or sad, or I think in which one was that, The Wrong Trousers, they made him cry by putting some glycerin in his eyes. Glycerin is like a clear solution that you mix in with food coloring to make those designs on birthday cakes. Like if you want to write your name or anything, it's the glycerin that actually kind of congeals and gives it some like texture. Well, you can buy it in I believe cake decorating shops and like in pharmacies and things like that, and they'll sell it to you, and it's clear. It comes in there's no color to it, and it gives you the ability to apply it to eyeballs and make a character look like they're crying. So even without having a mouth or anything to give a frown face, Gromit can appear to emote sadness through that little trick. So eyeballs are central to your character, and no matter what your character is doing, like here's Wallace, you can see his eyeballs, but of course he's got a mouth, and so he can look like he's sort of shocked here, but if you were to just cover up his mouth, you'll notice something, and that is that everything around his eyes and his brows are actually exactly the same as Gromit. So Wallace and Gromit had the exact same designed upper head, so to speak. All right, so you can sort of see, how, the limitations of this one are just really going to be extreme compared to Wallace. So how do you make eyeballs? And so, of course, Randy says he used white marbles, and he'll take a pupil that's hard baked, probably from Sculpey, I'm taking it, and he'll use a little bit of wax to make it stick. That's one way to do it. There's also, you can make super Sculpey eyeballs as well. The Domino's Pizza Noid had eyes that were sculpted out of Sculpey. Let's see if I can find a picture of it. And so eyes are not limited towards, let's see here. I had some really old videos of the Domino's Pizza Noid. It's one of my favorite characters. Let's see, okay, put this here. So he's got two eyeballs, and they're side by side, and they're sort of cartoony shaped, right? So they're not exactly round like you would expect a pair of eyeballs. So you don't have to limit the shape of your eyeballs to just spheres like marbles or Delrin balls or anything like that. And those were some clay eyeballs that were replacements. So as the machine is sort of huffing and puffing and doing its thing, and he's stuck in the machinery, and his eyeballs are actually shrinking and getting bigger. So it's kind of a comical thing. Another one. Let's do this one here. It's a great example. Alright, so you kind of get the idea, right? And it's extremely expressive. And the way that they're doing most of the expressive aspects are with the eyelids. And the eyelids are animated in such a way that they're not just like blinks. They're not just, up and down. There's actually a shape to each of the lid depending on what expression they would like. So one could be lower, one could be higher. The eyes can be completely opened. So it's really, with clay, it's a lot easier than using something like foam latex or silicone. But I just love the expressiveness of the Noid. I think they might have actually even used different sized eyeballs here. It seems like when he's going like this, one is small, one is kind of big. And then this one here, it looks like both eyeballs are kind of big. So, there was almost like, no limitations to what they were doing with this puppet at the time. So Henry's saying a cheap can of clear hair gel works great for liquids. That's true. Yeah, you can use hair gel for tears. And Henry says for about $2 for a bottle. Great posable consistency, but you'll need saran wrap overnight so it won't dry. Yeah, that's something, even with glycerin that will dry out. So you kind of need to finish your shot in one go if you're going to have tears or anything like that. Yeah, okay, so you've seen the Delrin eyeballs that I've used. All right. Yeah, I had that tutorial on my page. It's really popular. And Janet says Dale Beer says in the last Disney movie like Frozen, the eyes don't have emotions. You agree? Nope, I don't agree with that. Yeah, their eyes were not, if they didn't have emotion, then they would look like robots, in my opinion. All right, my cat wants to be in my lap. So how do you go about making eyeballs? Let's see here. So there's different ways. There's Delrin eyeballs, which is what I like to use because they're you had to consider one of the problems with making eyeballs for stop motion films, and that is that the color of the eyeballs, if they're too bright, they will appear to be almost glowing, and they will wash out the pupils that you paint on with the light that you use. It'll appear as though the pupils are missing. Let me get my cat off my lap here. Okay. So I don't think there's really any example I could probably show to give you an example. But here's an old Wallace and Grommet, and I'm wondering if they used perhaps some sort of glass beads. I've gone to hobby shops, and if you're interested in, having a sphere that's already got a hole drilled in the center, having a hole drilled in the center is really important, and the reason why, and these two characters of course have that, actually all of them do from Aardman, is that you want to stick a pin inside the eyeball for animation purposes. Now, since these are clay puppets, the clay is pretty good at holding the eyeballs in place, and so you can stick your pin in the center and turn the eyeball depending on where you want your puppet to look. So that's one of the things that let me see if this one is a little bit better quality. Let's see here. I'm thinking they used acrylic eyeballs at the time. I think this is from A Grand Day Out during Wallace and Gromit's first short film, which would have been about like 20 minutes long or so. And John Ashley taught me how to make these a long time ago. And I'm going to see if I can find a picture that would illustrate that. But I'm not sure if I have one. Let me see. Okay. Here's a crazy one. And that is a Noid puppet, and I forget the name of this particular spot. But check out his eyeballs here. These are clay, and they're replacement eyeballs. I really want to see if I can find a original Vinton eyeball. Something that would illustrate it well. I don't think I can. Maybe this one would be alright. Let's see. Too small. Ah, this is pretty good. Alright. Okay, so now Will Vinton's, what they used to do, this is back in around the mid 80s or so, probably about 1986 or 7 when this particular puppet was made. I believe the sculptor was Chuck Duke on this. If Webster Colcord was here, he could probably tell me, but I'm pretty sure it's Chuck Duke. So what they used were acrylic, and they came in different sizes. And for the California raisins, I think they were somewhere around like a ½ an inch or so. It varied over time, and the scale of the puppets that they made varied as well. And this particular puppet is a bit large. Some of the early raisins were maybe a third smaller than this one. And what they would do is they would take a drill press, and they would put the eyeball under the drill press and drill the initial hole with a very small diameter drill bit. And they would go about halfway through the eyeball. And from there you would take a pair of dividers, or what they call calipers or dividers, that have the pointy tips on there. And I think I have a pair here. Let's see. Alright, I don't know if my web camera is probably way too small. I should change that somehow, but they have dividers or calipers where you can adjust a pair of metal bars, and there's a centerpiece that holds it together, and the tips of it are sharp. Yeah, I can do this. So that's what they look like, something like this. So what they would do is they would take one of the tips of these two metal, like legs or whatever you want to call these things, protrusions, and you would stick that right in the center of the eyeball here. And you would, of course, want to have a perfectly circular ring here. And so you would spin it around and spin it around and spin it around, and one of the metal arms would, cut a perfect circle. And then you would, of course, put it in this eyeball and do the same thing, and you'd sort of make like a groove inside there. And that little groove that you make allows for paint to flow into it and not flow beyond it. So you could do that for this the iris and the pupil. So 1, 2 lines, and it just kind of keeps the paint in there. And the paint that you would want to use is a tester's like enamel paint. Doesn't really have to be that. You can use acrylics as well. But the problem is that when you have the eyelids on here, and in this case we're using clay eyelids, but you could use something like Super Sculpey and then use wax to keep it in place. Or you could use cast plastic pieces if you wanted to reproduce a lot of these. You could use pretty much any material, any flexible material like Sculpey that's not hardened, so it's like soft or whatever. It's really up to you. But when you stick your pin in here, you'll find that sometimes your pin will slip out of the hole as you're animating, and you can scratch that paint with your pin. And acrylic paints do not really stick well to any kind of plastic. So, for example, if you take acrylic paints and put it on your fingernail, which is it's sort of like plastic in consistency, you'll notice that since the surface of your nail is shiny, the paint scrapes off super simply, right? So, or super easily. So tester's enamels are what you want to use. Let's see if I have any more pictures here. Let's see. So you can, of course, here's a Wiltshire pig, and you can use something like what they did is just to make a very small pupil there. So the pupils don't really have to be large. Sometimes they're small. And in this case back here, this guy's got some very large pupils and irises. So Randy says Lost Leader Productions used to use white plastic beads for eyes, sometimes the whole straightforward to use as the pupil, sometimes sideways with the pupil added. Ah, okay. That's pretty smart. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the cool things about if you go to a hobby shop and you buy white plastic beads is that the hole's already in there. Now, if you're going to drill a hole in the center of a plastic ball, so here's one. This one is what John Ashley made this entire puppet and wheelchair and the eyeballs and everything here. And the center hole also looks like it's countersunk. That's another trick that they did, is they kind of countersunk that with a larger drill bit. And that gives you that little dot of light that you'll see in a pair of eyes. So, oops. So for example, on this illustration here, you see this little white dot where the light would be reflecting into? So these eyeballs, they just copy and pasted and flip these over. So technically the light, if it's on the top left, both eyeballs, it had that little reflection. So with Wiltshire Pig, you'll notice this sort of similar thing where you get like a white reflection right there. And that's from countersinking the eyeball. And that's one of the cool things about making your own eyes, is you can customize your eyes this way. And with like glass beads, if you get that in a hardware store or hobby store, you can't really countersink them so well like this. They tend to crumble. That's always been my experience. They're really brittle, and at least the ones that I have, the glass eyes, seem to be kind of granular. So like you could take a knife and like scrape it and chunks would break off. I don't know if you guys ever had that experience. And Matt says, do you use anything to lubricate the eyeballs so they move smoothly in the sockets? No, not with clay. The reason being is if you put oil, let's say mineral oil, in the socket that you've made, the clay will actually chemically melt. And when it melts, the eyeball will get stuck against the clay. Now Henry's saying he's used talcum powder or baby powder. I've never tried that. Talcum powder tends to be kind of shiny, and actually if you are going to use that on puppets, they say the best thing to use is cornstarch, because talcum powder has little reflective, it's basically a rock. And it's also cancerous. I don't know if you guys know that, but they've sort of discontinued using talcum powder in a lot of products, especially baby products, because it's toxic. So here's another example of an eyeball that's countersunk, and also the iris has a groove made with a tool. So it gives the eyeball a little bit more of a three-dimensional appearance. And I don't know if you guys know, but your eyes are actually three-dimensional. They're not actually perfect spheres. The front part is kind of comes out a little bit, and so that emulates that. Now, in terms of if you let's say you make a silicone puppet or a foam latex puppet, again, you probably don't want to lubricate the eyeball with anything, especially oil-based, because the latex will break down. So here's the PJs where they made some eyeballs using the same exact techniques as before, where they drilled a hole. And here are some beads that are red, which look really awesome here. So Matt says, I'm using Sculpey eyes and a Sculpey head, and it gets stuck. I thought I might try Vaseline. Ah, okay. Well, in that case, that would be a good idea. You might try that. There shouldn't be any reaction with Vaseline in a hard head like that at all. It sounds to me probably if you baked it and the eyeballs were in there, the Sculpey probably shrunk a little bit. That's probably why it's kind of stuck or sticking. Here's a really cool puppet from Vinton's. Again, this is, I think, a Chuck Duke creation. This is for a music video back in the 80s or 90s. And that was Chuck Duke. One of his like promo photos. I think he was making like postcards out of himself, animating puppets and everything. And yeah, that's what he looked like back then. He's all gray-haired now. He's getting up there in years. All right, so what else can I say about this? So eyeballs, I don't know, you can pretty much make them from Sculpey, from glass beads, plastic beads. You can use Delrin, you can use acrylic. What else can you use? You know, any sort of round objects that you find. This one here is obviously a handmade creation. And one thing I guess I didn't mention, and this looks like this might be the case with this particular eye, is if you're good in Photoshop or Krita or any of these graphics programs, you can paint your own irises in the program and then print them out on paper, really small. And from there you can take either a drop of crazy glue or something like that, and you can stick it on there and glue it in place. This here also looks like what they did is they took some fibers from fabric, some red fabric fibers, and placed them in on this sphere, which could be anything from either a glass sphere, or plastic. And you can use varnish, and you can actually glue your little fibers in there to make veins. This is more for like realistic characters, That's a great eyeball there. Let's see. So that's like another really cool looking fake eyeball. So again, for more realistic characters, you could try to emulate this sort of paint scheme that you see here, just by studying real eyeballs and trying to emulate that. And you could use wood varnish, would work great for the shiny aspects, or an acrylic gloss varnish that you can get for in most hobby shops. So Randy says, I had to make Sculpey eyes to recreate the characters from the original Rudolph in the spoof Rudolph Revisited. Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, because you probably couldn't buy anything like that, could you? I mean, and this here, I don't know what this is. Some sort of... Real Madrid flicker. All right. Where are we at here? So I'm not quite sure if this is... I'm pretty sure this must be photoshopped here. Like they photoshopped in some sort of color contact lenses onto a dog or something there. That's weird. So here's like a baby eyes, I guess. Kind of amazing, isn't it? How you can get all this kind of coloration in a pair of eyes. It's amazing. So Henry says, I've done this one trick once, which looks like I printed some pupils / irises. And I had these semi-sphere glass marbles, and I took some crystal clear and used it to adhere the front of the printed eyeball. Cool. And okay, so and then you used another semi-sphere for the other half, and it looked nice. There was an iris inside a refracted glass sphere, and it looked much like a cat's eye. How there's that clear layer inside, you mean? Like when you look through it? Yeah. That's really cool. Wow, that would be really awesome. Did you animate it at all? I mean, how did you animate it? I'm curious. Let's see. Electronic blinking eyeballs. Weird. But so if you guys are wondering, how you can see these kind of eyeball photos, I'm just using Google Images, Google Image Search, and it's just great for brainstorming, getting ideas, seeing what eyeballs look like. If you're designing a character and you want to get ideas for what colors to use, what veins might look like on there, or one of the things that I've been studying is because I work now with sculpting mannequin heads, is that sometimes they'll paint eyeballs and on a mannequin, and it doesn't look as nice as glass eyes or even plastic ones. Painted eyeballs just look really flat. So when I first started making puppets, what I did was I used to just like take white clay and make an eyeball that way. And using plastic or anything like that really makes a character come to life 1,000 times better than just clay. So Henry says, no, I just use it for a particular dragon sculpt with Super Sculpey. If you have a drill press and a drill bit for glass, you can easily drill a hole in the front and fill in the gap between the two semi-spheres with some bonds or more crystal clear in layers. Cool. So Matt is saying, how important do you rate eyelids as being for stop motion? Well, they're really important. I mean, you need to make your character blink. If you're going to animate your character speaking, one of the ways, the techniques that most animators use is you use blinks to accent what your character is saying. So when your character is talking, if you're using your hands, it's you kind of accent what's being said through gestures. So let's say you're gonna go. I'm gonna go to the bus stop. I'm gonna go to the bus stop. I'm telling you, I'm gonna go. So you're using your hands to accent the word. And usually, what you do when you're accenting words with blinks is you're closing your eyes, or your puppet's eyes, and you hold it closed just briefly, and then when you accent the word, you open the eyes. So it's kind of like you're popping, the eyes and the expression out. For the viewer, I guess you could say, if that makes any sense. And Henry says, I think they add character. I make eyelids with regular clay with 3 to 4 different lid levels. And also fast and quick movements in the eyes are usually accompanied with a blink. Yep, that's really smart. And the amount of lids that you need varies. Another thing that you might consider, close this, that when a person blinks, let me see if there's something on YouTube. Maybe I can see like blink slow motion. Not really sure if they have a video that I'm thinking of, but blink in slow motion. They might actually have a video. All right. So the thing to think about when animating an eyeball is that every time you blink, your eye moves down a little bit when the eyelid goes down. And when the eyelid comes up, the eye is pointing down a little bit and moves up just a little bit. So let me just see if this here is 36 seconds long of a blink in slow motion. This might take a while. All right. So here's the blink. It goes down. And goes up. And it doesn't really show what I'm trying to explain, though. Alright, let's see if there's a different video. (1,000 frames per second). There must be a real lot of light on this person to capture this. Huh. It's weird how the eyeball is somewhat steady even after the blink. But there you have it. That's what it kind of looks like. Now, it depends on how many frames per second you're going to use. Now, this is 1,000 frames per second. So think about that. In 1,000 frames per second, even at that speed, the eyeball is actually moving pretty, the eyelid is going down and up really rapidly. Now, at 24 frames per second, right, that's like, it's so quick. Some blinks are only 3 frames, some are 2, and you can even do a 1 frame blink depending on your frame rate, especially if you're doing something like a 10 frame per second animation. I think there's another here. Let's see. Yeah, see, the eyeball does not, you can see it does shift. Looks like it goes slightly up during a blink, which is really weird. So again, this reference should be helpful for you guys to kind of see what the eyeball does here. Let's see about this one. This person looks kind of scared. Yeah, I guess we could also discuss the fact that the iris, and of course in dark environments, would be larger, and an iris in light environments will be small, a lot smaller, or the pupil. Sorry, getting my terminology backwards. And Randy's saying eyebrows are crucial for expressing emotions, but tilting the eyelids in the same angles adds even more to the expression. Yeah, that's a great point. And Henry says, my sister is in the military and she studies human criminal psychology, and she lets me in on a lot of these subtle human behaviors that we wouldn't notice but adds character. And also, fast and quick movements in the eyes are usually accompanied with a blink. Yeah, if you, like for example, this eye is moving left and right. Most of the time you would have the eye, if it's over facing, let's say to the left, the person would blink before they look to the right. So you wouldn't really see the eye shifting slowly in a direction. And that's mostly for animation. In animation terms, it adds a little bit more of like that pop that I was telling you about before. Like when you're having a character speak and they accent the words with their eyes opening on the big words or the big, vowels. It's similar to looking left and right as well. So if they're looking left, they would look to the right, and it sort of pops, a different expression into place. Yeah, we could also go into anticipation as well, using eyeballs. Like if you're going to have a character looking to the left and then they're going to look to the right, you might have a center pose where they first look left and then look right, just so the audience has a second or so, or not even a second, maybe a quarter to a half a second period of time where they know what that character is going to do ahead of time. That's a really popular technique for lots of animators. It's not necessarily realistic. You can kind of tell, like if you have a real a human being like Superman or something like that in a feature film, where it's a real human character and they have anticipation. Sometimes it lends to taking away the realism in a live action film. But when it comes to cartoon characters and so forth, where you're not really taking it all literally, it's more like a fantasy, and you kind of buy into that, and you let a lot of things go with cartoons that you wouldn't let go in a real situation with real people. So that sort of anticipation is something that you'll see in films from Leica and any Disney films, like Janet was saying before. Disney films are some of her favorite kind of things to watch, some films like that. Janet says, I never forget one horror when murder put glass in eyes, dead people to have audience? You mean like somebody put glass eyes in like a mannequin or something? I think that's what you're talking about. It can be kind of creepy, yeah. When eyeballs are really realistic, it's what do they call that? The uncanny valley. They call it the uncanny valley, where something looks really realistic, almost like it's alive, and there's like a threshold that if it's too realistic, you're creeped out by that. But yeah, eyebrows, eyelids, eyebrows can make you look angry, and like Randy was saying, you can sort of angle your eyelids in a cartoony character to be like a frown shape as they close or open. I think maybe like Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas, they did that as well, didn't they? They had like happy, neutral, and angry expressions for Jack. There might have been more. I'm sure there were. I guess there were like custom ones as well, where he's kind of like he pulls his mouth down and goes roar, scares Lock, Shock, and Barrel and everything. So there were different expressions like that, but I think it was like happy, neutral, and angry, and maybe sad too, I guess. So it could have been like 4 sets of expressions, but they would all have his lids kind of angled as he blinks, I believe, in those. They were replacements that they would pop in and out. So Randy says a lot of productions use only top eyelids, but at Vinton's they insisted that we use lower lids because without them, the characters look too puppety. Oh, okay. And Randy says, I have adopted that philosophy and always use upper and lower lids. That's smart. I use upper and lower lids in my clay characters when I last animated Zombie Pirate Tales, but I didn't have a philosophy behind it. It just, since they're clay, they're so easy to make. You can just, took 2 seconds to like make a little snake for a lower lid and just pop it in there. So what else? Let's see. Another blink in slow motion. Not really sure what this one will look like. Let's see here. Very slow motion. Let's see. Where does he blink here? Oh. There we go. And the eyebrow doesn't seem to really do much during this particular blink. It's just kind of... Oh, I should probably mention also, like when you have an expression change from maybe happy to angry, like maybe somebody's happy and then somebody says, your mom is big, fat, and ugly or something, and you go, what? And they're surprised. Usually the expression change, in the middle of an expression change, you would have the eyelids close and maybe the brows kind of scrunch down and then pop, into another expression. So like you get some sort of squash and stretch. Squash and stretch are very hard to get in stop motion puppets. But you can kind of fake it by squashing the eyelids and the eyebrows and kind of bringing the jaw up if there's a jaw, or bringing the mouth up if there's like a stick-on mouth or something, and scrunching that all towards the center point, and then opening up and popping into a new expression. So from happy to angry would be more or less there could be like a surprise or something. There's a lot of ways to do it. But let's see here. Let me see something real quick. See images. Here we go. All right, so here are some expressions. So you can sort of see, how many different expressions there could be, or infinite. These are some really good ones, though. So this one here, maybe some fear. Fear usually has the center part of your eyebrows come up together, like this. That's generally when people are fearful. This would be like a happy expression. And you can see sort of like what Randy was saying. This is like what they do with two-dimensional animation all the time, of course. It's really simple because they're not constrained by, 3D solid, hard, baked eyelids or anything. Of course, with clay, it's a lot easier to do this too, but you can see like how the lids for happy expression, the eyelids themselves also go upwards as well as the brows. This is a sort of condescending look, or maybe like "Oh my God, I can't believe you just said that," or something expression. This one here is kind of goofy, like surprise. Lower lid is kind of up. Got some, this guy here would be angry. This person, maybe in love or something. There's more anger here. Despair. Suspense. There's so many awesome shapes. So Mary says, I shoot in 2s at 30 frames per second, and most standard blinks are closed for 2 frames. A slow blink is 3 frames. Anything more makes the puppet look sleepy, depending on the context. Yeah, it depends on your frame rate, depends on what you're trying to do. It really takes a lot of experimentation to get right. So there's just a lot of course, there's web pages that explain, like I just put in animating eyes in Google Images, and you can see all kinds of really awesome reference. And a lot of 2D animators have tutorials out there as well. So I don't know, who wrote this. Let's see, Jimmy Gibson, with a little thing at the end there. I don't know what that is. So 3 ways to animate a look to the right, it says. This is the weakest, it says, where you're just looking down and looking up. Then this one, like I was saying before, has a little bit of anticipation. Kind of curves in a downward motion and then up. It says this is stronger. And then the strongest is where you blink in between. And that's what I was saying before, where a lot of animators use this technique to sort of pop the expression, the second expression or direction that you look in. Gives it a little bit more life, I guess you could say. And it says here, look for opportunities to have pupils leading the direction of the look. So I guess what they're saying is like the anticipation is kind of where it's moving to the right here, down and to the right. So it says the rising eyelids fortify the look, the change of direction emphasizes it, and the blink stages it by not only increasing the amount of the move, but by shutting out the white of the eyes briefly, then adding it back on successive drawings. Blinks are good on any shift of eye direction, as they call attention to the changes as well as allow the animator to make the expression stronger. In blinks, there should be a feeling of flesh and thickness to the eyelids, where there is only one in between, slow out of each extreme. So yeah, you could definitely, when he says slow out, you could slow in and slow out as well. You don't want to do a lot of them because the lids are so tiny, right? Unless you're like making a super large puppet head or something like that, where you can get away with it. But then of course, like what Randy's saying, it might seem too slow, right? So I think what they've got here, this chart is kind of showing the different positions of the lid. So on the way down, it would be a small move, as you can see here, and then closed, and then D to C. So it's, I don't know what they're, CDA. Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, so what they're trying to do is they're trying to alternate the level of the lid going down from, you don't want to just have the lid close in the center and then reopen at the center line. You want to have them offset. So I understand what they're saying, but he doesn't really explain that in that way. So the lid is going down, and it's going maybe a third of the way down, then it's all the way down, and then it's going up, it's only a third of the way up, so you're not repeating the same level of distance between frames. Yeah, okay. I understand what he's saying, but all right. You guys understand what I'm saying? Maybe I'm the only one that understands. I don't know. But yeah, it's a pretty cool trick. Cool trick. Blah. Getting tongue-tied. So anyways, you guys have any questions about eyeballs or animating them? So Janet says, when I was talking about horror title, have Red Dragon with Hannibal Lecter. Oh. Okay, so yeah, Hannibal Lecter is that with Judy Foster? Are you talking about Silence of the Lambs, maybe? I don't know. I'm confused. But now Randy says, I rarely shoot in-betweens on blinks. I go from full open to full close to full open. The viewer's brain adds the in-betweens. Oh, okay. Yeah, you could do it that way. I never noticed it with your animation, actually. So it probably worked because it didn't stick out as incorrect or anything. So Matt says, I was thinking the same, Randy. The in-betweens sound like a lot more work. Yeah, I like to do in-betweens. That's just my particular, and it is more work. I think if I were trying to do it pretty quick, I wouldn't do that myself. All right. Well, anyway, guys, it is past the hour, so it's time to end our show. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. Of course, if you guys want to visit our site, it is animateclay.com. And if you want to subscribe and see more of our live shows and talk with us, you can do so at our Animate Clay YouTube channel. And we're at Animate Clay on Twitter and at Animate Clay Fan on Facebook. And our intro music was provided by Monstercat. All right, I will see you guys all next week.